Hello, Professor Awesome here, and this is part 3 and the final part of the series on how to choose a college or university. If you are just starting now, I would advise you to look at part 1, which is on having the right attitude when looking for a college or university, and part 2, which is on the don'ts, common mistakes that people will make. So the first of the do's that I would like to talk about is picking at least one school that appears to be out of your price range. At the end of the last video, I talked a little bit about not rejecting yourself. Go ahead and apply for schools that appear to be out of your price range. As I discussed before, that allows greater opportunities for financial aid, and you might find that it's cheaper for you to go to the more expensive school. So do make sure that you do that. We think of schools that match our budget, and if you end up with a school that is very expensive and you can't afford it, then don't go to that school. Go to one you can afford. The next thing I would say to do is, when you're looking for programs, look for a very good general studies or general education program at any school that you're going to. Well, a lot of people think, well, that might mean that I'm not a serious student. I have to have a particular major, and because of that, I need to decide what I want to do. Listen, if you're in your late 20s or older, you probably have a decent sense of what you want to do, and you want to look for a specific program, and we'll talk in a minute about how to look for a specific program. But if you're 17, 18, 19 years old, the truth is you have no idea what you want to do. You don't have enough experience really in the workforce or in the world to really have a sense of what do we do in all these different fields. And a really good general studies program will help you figure out not just where your interests are, but also where your strengths are, rather than trying to think, well, I saw this in a movie one time that looked like a fun job, so maybe I'll do that instead. So look for a very strong general studies or general education program. If you're going on a campus tour and they don't want to talk about that, or you look and there's very little about that, you might want to consider a school that has a stronger program than that, so that you really can get in there and really explore what it is that you're going to be doing. Now, let's say that you have a good sense of the program you want to be in, or you're not certain exactly what you want to do. So, for example, before I started school, I really was trying to choose between two very different types of things: English and biomedical engineering. And I was really struggling to decide which of those to do. So let's say that you're older and you have a strong sense of the program that you want to do, or you're younger, you don't know exactly what you want to do, but you do have a few things in mind. How then can you judge one school from the next? Well, one thing you want to try to do is to see, am I going to be taught by full-time professors? That is to say, people who are paid full-time, who have many, many years of experience, rather than being taught by part-timers. Because the problem with being taught by part-timers is really two problems. One is, generally speaking, they're not going to be as experienced as the full-time professors are going to be. I was a teaching assistant. Basically everyone who is a full-time tenure track or tenure professor was in that position at one time. So we all started there, but we didn't have quite the same amount of experience as we have now. The other one is, frankly, universities don't pay part-timers very well, and so they're generally very overworked. And because of that, they're not really able to bring their A game every time that they're going to teach. So you're going to want to look for a school where, when you're in your major, you're really going to be taught by professors, not by that professor's graduate assistant or their teaching assistant. How can you know that? Well, it's really simple. All you have to do is go to that university's website, look for the department, and look in the faculty of that department or several departments that you're interested in, you think you might end up in eventually, and just look at the names of those faculty. Then go and look at the course list for undergraduate courses and see on the 3 and 400 or 3 and 4,000 level classes, any class that begins with the number begins with a 3 or 4. See, are those names appearing there? If they're not, if they're only appearing 5, 6, 100 or 1,000 level classes, what that probably means is they're teaching graduate students, and then you're being taught by the graduate students. Again, nothing wrong with being a graduate student. All those professors were one-time graduate students, but you probably are going to want to end up somewhere where you have, the most experienced person teaching you that you can get. So it's, it is 21st century. You can look on websites. You can see who's actually teaching the courses, not just who's on the website, and see who you're likely to end up with. And also, I would urge you, consider all your options. We have this sense, cultural sense of college, where it's a place that you go to for 4 years, and then that's the end of that. That's not the case anymore. It really is not. And so you have many options available to you. There's the traditional residential college experience. And, honestly, if you are in your late teens and early 20s and you're going to go to school, that's probably what you're considering. And you really should consider that. It's a very useful experience. Also, there are many cultural opportunities. I mean, there are opportunities to get in trouble too, but there are things that will be going on around you that you have a chance to do for the first time in your life. I discovered how much I love live theater by going to, by essentially being on a campus where there was live theater. I discovered how much I love Baroque classical music by the same reason. And I also discovered how much I didn't like opera and operetta, again, by being exposed to it, just having it around you. So you really have these opportunities to stretch yourself, particularly if you're in that age range. But don't neglect the idea of being a commuter, being able to drive back and forth to your school. And also today, do not forget the opportunity to study online. You might be in a point in your life where it's simply not reasonable for you to go to school. And the truth is, as we get further on in this century, more and more students aren't simply doing one. They're not just simply taking all their classes residentially, but instead they'll maybe take some of their classes in a residential way. They might commute to another site or another campus to take the classes there, and they might take part of their course load online as well. Most students will find that they'll do some sort of blend of that. And honestly, even with residential classes, more and more of what we do for that is online. A lot of my classes, I do all the testing, all the paper assignments online, so that we don't use valuable class time for those things, and students end up doing those at home or in the library on their own. So don't just limit yourself to thinking of the residential experience. Explore the idea of doing residential, of being a commuter, of being able to do online courses. Explore the idea of being able to blend these in some way. And finally, the last do is, after all is said and done, after you've gotten your scores in, and you've gotten accepted or not accepted by different schools, you've got your financial aid packages in, then look at it and go to the school that is the best fit that you can afford. The best fit that you can afford. Do not end up going somewhere that you cannot afford, and do not go somewhere that maybe has some sort of reputation that you've heard about. They're ranked in a particular way by some online site or some terrible popular magazine, but instead think, what is the best fit for me that I can afford, and then do that. As you go forth, you pick your school. If you get the best fit for the best price, it's like picking clothing. The best fit that you can afford is really going to make you comfortable and will look good for you, and you'll be able to succeed. Because where you go to school is important, but even more important than that is how much effort you put into it.